Good morning, boys. I hope all of you are fine and you must have got your results of the examination that was held recently. Most of you have done well in your paper in history. Of course, most of you had similar answers, but some of you have tried your best to be sincere. Congratulations. And congratulations for making an attempt and keeping on with your studies. Today we are going to continue our studies. As you have observed, we have already uploaded chapters 6, 7 and 8. For your exam, you had first 5 chapters which were on Indian nationalism or on Indian history. From chapters 6 to 13, the 8 chapters will cover the developments and the history of the world. Chapter 6 was about Industrial Revolution and Socialism. Chapter 7 was on First World War, and chapter 8 was on UN, or rather the League of Nations, and an attempt to establish peace in the world. Today we will proceed with chapter 9. Chapter 9 is about Great Depression and its effect especially on USA and thereafter on Germany, Britain, France and Japan, the economic giants of that time. Finance is always important. It is the blood of any institution. Finance is the blood of every nation for that matter. The financial health more or less defines the political and the social life of a nation. During the First World War, we know particularly USA had come to the aid of the Allies, Britain and France. If it was not USA, the Allies would have lost. They would have lost the war. But this had also helped the financial health of the United States of America. The manufacturing companies which had supplied arms and other goods to Europe during the time of war, the First World War, had profited greatly because though industrially Europe was far advanced, its industries were destroyed or could not function during the time of war. USA profited during the war and also in the beginning years after the war because Europe was just limping back to normalcy. On account of that, in USA, 2 things happened. First, there was a great boom in the economy. Economy flourished. And the second thing was, as an effect of that, a financial market also existed. A financial institution whereby investments were done. People invested their surplus money in order to reap high profits or profits in at a higher rate, so that they could move upwards in the social ladder. This was that people invested their surplus money. There was great boom as well as there were investments in the financial market. But in the year 1929, there was a great crash. The economy crashed, so to say. It is because when there is a great boom, it is like a bubble. It is like a bubble. You know, a bubble in the soap water. It grows bigger and bigger. But it bursts all of a sudden. So also here, in the financial market, there was a great bubble. People invested money. But that investment went to the industries and to other goods and services. But market depends not only on domestic market, or industries depend not only on domestic market, but also on the foreign market, the export of goods. In the beginning years after the First World War, the European countries got the goods from outside. But slowly, when Europe also was back to normalcy, they stopped importing many things. And on account of that, there was a depression in America. It could not sell things or export things outside or to European market. When things are not sold, production cannot be had because there would be surplus production. And surplus, what do you do with surplus production? You can't do anything with it. And therefore, when there is surplus and things cannot be sold, manufacturing automatically stops. There were so many industries. They had to close their shop. They had to close their operation. And on account of that, there was a crash in the financial market. There was a great speculation. When the speculation could not be matched with the reality, there was a crash in the market. Many people lost their jobs. When I was in Los Angeles, I can tell you very well, there was a bridge, an old bridge, which people called as a suicide bridge. And people were still talking about the suicides that took place during the Great Crash. During the First World War, it was President Woodrow Wilson who steered the economy and afterwards the peace settlement. Soon after that, President Harding took over, but it was during the time of President Hoover the great crash happened. But after President Hoover, President Roosevelt took over, and he was the one who steered the American economy back to normalcy, so to say, through his policies of New Deal. What was a New Deal? Through the New Deal, he made sure the production was limited. The production also in the agricultural field was also limited. Limited production means limited output. It was the overproduction that had contributed in one way to the great crash, besides the speculation and the share market. He also made sure that limited amount of work was given to all the households so that the livelihood was possible. He also gave loans to small industries, just like what happens today in many countries. When the economy crashes, the government steps in. And this is exactly what happened during the time of President Roosevelt after the Great Crash or Great Depression. And he steered America back to its economic health. But it did not recover fully, because in 1939 the Second World War began. This great crash had its effect also on other countries like Britain, Germany, France, and also on Japan. In short, I can say that most of these countries, when they stopped importing things, goods from America, America also imposed a higher tariff or higher tax on imported goods from Europe. And therefore, it was not a win-win situation for everybody. It was a losing situation for every country. Every country tried to follow a sort of protectionist policies. Now, various countries tried their own ways of protecting their own markets. Some succeeded, some did not succeed. But immediately after that, in 1939, we have the beginning of the Second World War, and economy took a different direction. I have given you the points in the file, as well as there are question answers answered. Please go through it and study well, because it is important for you to understand whenever an economic crisis happens in the world.